Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Sits for Change. As always, we're your hosts, Tammy and Martine, here to bring you exciting conversations about making events more planet and people conscious.
Also, welcome to part two of our Paris 2024 post event reports deep dive. Last week, we covered how Paris 2024 tackled environmental sustainability. But as we always emphasize, sustainability isn't just about the planet, it's about people too. So this week, we're diving into the social impact. How inclusive were the games? And did they live up to their promises?
And in case you missed part one, we've included the link below.
Thanks, Tammy. To kick things off, let's start with where we left off last time event communications. A big part of any sustainable event is how well you communicate expectations, not just internally, but also to attendees and partners. Paris 2024 set a high bar here.
I completely agree. From the start, they created specific training and awareness programs for all 4,000 of their employees, as well as their 45,000 volunteers.
And what I love is that 100% of their employees were informed about their commitments and provided an operational training course for the entire workforce. They even included a training course dedicated to combating gender based and sexual violence, as well as another course on how to welcome people with disabilities to their volunteers, employees, and corporate partners.
Additionally, to increase awareness for the broader participants, they also included 5 eco reflexes during their venue specific training sessions for the volunteers, which they highlighted as one, encourage soft mobility, two, use water bottles and water fountains, three, sort your rubbish in the right bin, four, eat more responsibly, and five, respect the venues and their environment.
And this is where you can start seeing the organizers extending their influence beyond their internal operational teams. Going beyond their provided training, Paris 2024 also designed and rolled out a large communications campaign for the general public, a first in the history of the games because they wanted to raise awareness and encourage responsible behavior during the games, which we can see was fairly successful because circling back to our previous episode about those water bottles.
Paris 2024 also worked on enhancing communication channels with their suppliers by working with its partners to develop various programs and platforms such as Enterprises 2024 and ESS 2024 to source and communicate information and resources to businesses that help assist in organizing economically responsible events. Since its creation in 2018, there are more than 6,000 Solidarity, circular, and local businesses on the ESS 2024 platform.
These platforms weren't just for short term efficiency. They were designed to outlive the games themselves as part of the commitments within their adopted social charter to continue supporting the economy and workers of France. With that said, I was a bit disappointed to say that the report didn't go into much detail about the progress towards the commitments outlined in the social charter.
I agree, Martine. This would probably be another growth opportunity for the games moving forward. We already covered the multiple metrics that they did provide in the previous episode, such as the mobilization of over 181,000 jobs. But anecdotally, leading up to the games, there were already some concerns about labor conditions.
Yeah, I read that French labor unions criticized the games for overworking the volunteers, like scheduling them up to 10-hour shifts per day for 6 days a week over the span of 15 weeks. I separately read another article about the death of a construction worker due to unsafe working conditions at a construction site, as well as another article about the misuse of migrant workers in the construction of the athletes' village.
That's really disappointing to hear. And without any metrics or data from the post games report, it's hard to say how or if at all concerns were addressed.
Mm, exactly. I don't want to get too hung up on the negatives for the rest of the chat, but I did want to highlight that piece and point out that all of the positive outcomes of the games shouldn't dismiss any negative impacts either.
Oh, 100%. And I'm really glad that you brought that up, Martine.
Thanks, Demi. Now let's jump back into talking about some of the other legacy aspects of Paris 2024's commitments. A key area would be waste management. How did that play out in practice?
Great question. Get this. Paris 2024 thought this part through as well. They had a second life plan for every piece of equipment. A total of 6 million pieces of asset were evaluated prior to the games, from temporary infrastructure to sports equipment to technology, and was assigned a plan in advance for either donation or reselling to professional purposes, including, believe it or not, uniform socks. Yes, even socks got repurposed and donated.
I read that a total of 54,000 pieces of furniture, along with 9,000 mattresses and 11,000 pillows, were donated from the Athletes Village, which is incredible when you think about it from a charity perspective as well as waste reduction.
Indeed, it is. However, that 6 million number, I don't think that includes things like branding and merch, right?
Maybe it doesn't include some of them because I did read that some of the materials were donated to museums, but I don't think the museums will be taking hundreds of items. I can see where your brain is going. You're thinking about the leftover giveaways, aren't you?
You know me so well. And look, I love a good souvenir, but 3.3 million mascot plushies, like that's enough for every single person in Paris to have one. Plus, and have still some left over for the pigeons.
Tammy, we need to be inclusive. The pigeons want to be involved in the Olympics too. But in but in all seriousness, I also read that there were 8,000 different types of official products sold, and they sold over 300,000 posters alone. I can't imagine the amount of other products too.
Same. And I wonder if those products are made with sustainable materials because they don't mention any of that in their pre-games or post-games report. However, the International Olympic Committee final report on Paris 2024 did note that there were 2 million downloads of the official mobile game. I do think there's a lot of opportunity there to potentially offer digital souvenirs that could cut back on the physical giveaway waste.
Agreed. You know, I'm a big supporter of leveraging technology. I read that there were actually 15 unique augmented reality, also called AR, features in the Olympic mobile app, such as interactive lenses and the activation of real-time Olympic records through an in-city AR experience at designated landmarks.
Again, I don't want to get too hung up and keep harping on the negatives, but especially since they did use this opportunity to make donations to advance the sports movement in France, as well as various charities. One of their commitments were, and I quote, building a social environmental legacy that puts sports at at the service of the individuals, environment, and society by raising awareness of the importance of physical activity and sport for health, making sport a lever for inclusion, solidarity, and equality.
Thanks for that quote, Tammy. I also agree that this should be noted since it highlights the support of our communities beyond the games. For instance, besides showcasing this commitment by building accessible spaces, the organizers also launched the National Generation 2024 program, which was aimed to promote physical activity and sports amongst young people to use sports as a tool for education and civic engagement. They even donated a large amount of balls, nets, etc. to the French Volleyball Federation.
Through the Generation 2024 program, all 36,500 French primary schools adopted a 30-minute of daily physical activity as a national policy, with 36,800 sports kits distributed to schools prior to the games. And as a result, 79% of teachers observed an improvement of student concentration, and classroom atmosphere.
Additionally, in support of the game's legacy, an endowment fund was formed to enable projects to use sports well-being, education, inclusion, and environmental improvements. By September 2024, the fund had provided more than 50 million euros, or approximately $52 million, to fund around 1,500 grassroots projects across France, benefiting 4.5 million people, especially women, girls, and people with disabilities.
Mm. I think all of these initiatives are amazing. And we did highlight some of the Paris 2024's pitfalls because no event is perfect and continuous commitment is key. Thus, I'm interested to see how their legacy continues to play out moving forward. As we wrap up, do you want to highlight additional lessons other event planners can take from the Paris 2024?
Definitely. If you're planning an event, big or small, what's one sustainable change you can commit to from the start? Paris 2024 shows that intentional planning makes all the difference. The utilization of existing infrastructure, reducing waste, and engaging the community are all strategies that can be applied to events of any scale.
Well said, Martine. It's all about intentionality and commitment to sustainable processes. Any final thoughts?
Just that Paris 2024 has set a commendable example. While there's always room for improvement, their efforts in sustainability provide a valuable blueprint for future large scale events.
Agreed. It's inspiring to see such dedication to making a positive impact. With that said, that concludes our deep dive today.
Thanks for joining us today, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, as usual, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss out on our sustainability deep dives. Thanks for sipping with us, and we'll see you next week.
Until then, keep making conscious choices one sip at a time. Bye.